welcome to the Good Anime Palette Podcast. This is episode 10. I am your co-host, Jason, and I'm joined, as always, as usual, with Will. What's going on, buddy?
How's it going, everybody? It's a terrible day. Rain is fucking awful.
Well, it wasn't raining that hard when we were downstairs.
Bruh, it was, oh man. I would say that, like, the rain kind of just came out of nowhere. Like, we knew that it was going to be a terrible, like, weather week in Hong Kong, but I think I was on my way off work, heading home, and then all of a sudden, like, I just felt like a splash of water on my face. I looked up, and then suddenly, like, the rain started pouring, and the winds were fast as fuck as well. So even if you stood in shelter, the rain started coming in horizontally.
Sideways.
Yeah, it was awful. It was fucking terrible. And I was just dumb because I was so tired from work that I left my umbrella at home. Luckily, I was undercover, and I was able to find shelter to get to, like, my bus stop to get home, but it was just bad vibes all around.
You see, you just got to do what I do and put umbrellas and everything under the sun in your bag.
I had one of the big boy umbrellas, which is useless if you don't have it on you. That's why now I actually have like one of those little mini umbrellas just in case.
Right. So, raining aside, how's anime? How's manga?
Okay, so in preparation for today's episode, despite my busy work schedule, I managed to actually complete and or consume a fuck ton of shit.
Wait, okay, so we're not gonna name animes yet, but
no, we're gonna reveal these later on in.
But
I could
think of at least 60-something episodes or more, sure.
Way more.
Yeah, way more.
And
minimum.
Also just basically hours and hours and hours of shit. For you guys, of course. This is purely for the Good Anime Palette Pockets, but also, for the fact that I really did enjoy what I've watched and read, so it's all been good.
Yeah, we haven't been watching much seasonal stuff as a group.
Oh, it's been hard to keep it up, man. I mean, like, we're behind on VV, we're behind on Shadow's House, we're behind on To Your Eternity, but there's even some stuff from, like, the previous season. Like, for example, like, actually, this would probably be like a pretty good segue into like one of the news articles we should talk about, right? We've actually been really behind on Wonder Egg, and
okay. Well, before you go on Wonder Egg, though, I have 38 anime on hold on my MAL.
Yeah,
it has never been that many.
I'd probably have around a dozen or so, but that's because I don't start as much. It's more just mostly been seasonals. But I think you've got actually a whole anime backlog that you started and. Because of the weight of your schedule.
I mean, it cleared up recently, but then new podcast homework showed up. So we actually will not. Usually we start off our episodes with what you've been watching or reading, but we are not going to do that. Instead, we're going to go straight into the news because we actually have been watching and reading quite a bit, but that goes into our main discussion topic. I think that's becoming kind of a trend, isn't it?
It's hard to balance everything, right? As much as you want to keep up with the seasonals, you're also preparing for the next podcast topic, or you're just preparing for something further down the road. So, where does the time then allow for you to actually catch up with seasonals? You'll find it, but it's way more sporadic than it used to be.
And I feel like the season is, the season is coming to an end and the summer season is about to start in 3 weeks or so.
Speaking of which, though, the summer season it doesn't look dry, but
so let's get into this then. If you want to get into this for a bit.
Yeah, why not? Okay, so before we go into the proper news section, let's just have a quick chat about how the summer schedule looks in terms of what's releasing, and I guess if you want to highlight anything that you're excited for or you're anticipating.
Okay, so usually I would have a bunch of plan to watch shows. Now, do I end up watching all of those shows in this beginning? I would say 3/4 of it, and then slowly but surely I will narrow it down to maybe 5 or 6, sometimes 5 to 8 maybe, depending on how much good stuff is out there. I don't think this season coming up, which is summer, is looking too good.
Well, I mean, I can guess that there's stuff that's it's on your list, but whether or not you're going to watch it's a different thing. For example, Slime season 2.
Nope,
you're not
because I haven't even watched season 2 part 1 yet.
Dragon Maid.
100% gonna watch Dragon Maid. That is probably my most anticipated summer anime.
Kanojo no Kanojo.
I don't want people to know, but yeah, sure. I want to see how bad this is.
I think the one that I'm looking at would be Veritas no Carte.
I'm also looking at Villainous Isekai season 2. So I'm looking forward to that. But
I think I'm also going to check out Remain, just because it's a water polo anime.
oh yeah.
And,
I might check out that PA Works anime about aquariums. I think there was one that's like that. I have the name here, but it's in Japanese, so I'm just gonna let it slide.
But yeah, like generally, I think it's probably because it's like with the summers you usually is associated with like movies. So there's actually quite a lot of movies that are coming out. Like for example, there's Free, the 4th movie. There's another My Hero Academia movie. There's a Fate Grand Order movie.
But they're all in like September, August. I mean, there is the My Hero Academia, obviously. That is August 6th, I think.
Fate FGO comes out late July.
I want to see Belle.
That's a good one. Yeah, I think
July 16th.
I think that one is like, if there is a movie to watch, it'd probably be that one.
I mean, it probably would be in Hong Kong, right?
It probably should. But whether or not they have English subs,
I'll still watch it with Chinese subs.
I guess.
I mean, I watched Mugen Train with Chinese subs.
Okay, yeah, fair.
I think we're just going to have to accept that.
Sometimes we forget, it's like, yeah, we can actually read Chinese, so
Yeah.
that shouldn't be an issue.
But one anime that I would probably am thinking about watching that would probably be very under the radar is Kageki Shoujo. The Curtain Rises. I think there's a manga omnibus that I haven't read yet, and it is basically it sounds like my jam. But
Okay. Well, this is all the summer stuff, which actually, if we're going to, start talking about some of the new stuff, there's a show that both Jason and I really, really, really like. I got onto it. Jason then got onto it, and we both just love the insanity and the gorgeous artwork that is Wonder Egg Priority.
that's correct.
And so we haven't actually fully caught up with it. I think we're like 2 or 3 episodes behind finishing the season, but I think we've been just waiting because we knew that the anime itself wouldn't be concluded through the normal TV series. So they just actually they had an announcement a while ago that they were going to do a special episode to wrap up Wonder Egg Priority, and they announced that
And it's 1 hour long.
it's 1 fucking hour long. It's essentially a mini movie.
Yeah, boy.
So man, look, I'm ready for the feels. I'm ready for it just to get my eyes and my brain just completely blown out.
It will be streaming on Funimation on June 29th around the same time that it airs on Japanese TV stations.
Bro, there's nothing more hype than fucking hearing the words Wonder Egg Priority Special Edition Finale to be 1 hour long. Like that. Oh, God, I'm so excited for that.
Do you think they have to sing the song, right?
Yeah. Oh, man.
There has to be multiple songs, right?
Just hearing the opening, again, it's very rare that I ever watch or listen to the openings of most series, but I will give Wonder Egg like the thumbs up. Like I will absolutely watch the
so
opening every
enchanting.
single
The
time.
opening is so enchanting.
It's really well put together.
Yeah, I
really
know.
like it. The composition of like some live action clips and then mixing it in with the characters, but it's just like the music that you contrast it with the visuals is just like, wow, this is some real gorgeous orchestral shit. And then when you watch the show, you're just like, it all makes sense.
Eye candy.
It doesn't make sense.
It's like eye candy, heart candy.
It's very warm. It's a very warm opening.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay. Another show that we like a lot that debuted on Netflix is Kagegurui. 2 seasons of it. Now, why are we mentioning?
I freaking love Kakegurui.
I love Kakegurui.
I'm glad that you also got onto it as well.
I wish season 2 was better than it is, even though it is still really good.
And what happens when you partially go original / filler, right?
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, it's like the original novel / manga. I forgot
manga.
Yeah, so like it's been coming out slowly. So even if they were to adapt the rest of the manga as is, there's actually not as much material, which is why like the last 2 years we've been seeing live action Kakegurui instead of both TV shows and movies.
And now we might actually know the reason why it's coming out so slowly, which is the people who are behind Kagegurui is signing on to a new project, multimedia project called High Card, which is about poker.
So multimedia projects, usually like these are, they're not small things. They're huge in the sense that they'll be rolling out manga, TV shows, music, collectibles, merchandise. Like this thing requires like months, if not years, in advance of planning. And that would explain, like you said, why Kakegurui has been kind of quiet in terms of the anime front.
And this is a partnership with Kadokawa, TMS, and Sammy. So it is three different studio, not studios. What do you call it? Like production. I mean, guess studios that is collaborating on this. So it's a very big deal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that like not only is the author of Kakegurui working on it, but his younger brother is also working with it too. So it's basically like a family project.
Yeah. So they showed like a poster concept art of have you seen it?
Yep, it looks pretty sick. I like it.
It's a very nice poster. It's a bunch of dudes. I think there's one or two women, and then there's like it's like a card.
Yeah, it's literally called High Card.
Yeah. So we don't know much else other than that, and we will probably watch whatever anime that is coming out because they confirmed an anime.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be done by Leiden Films, which they do decent work. They're not the biggest name, but like
I mean, you like Steins Gate, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been disappointed by anything that was Leiden Films.
Other Side Picnic for me.
Okay, I haven't watched it, but
it was all right.
Okay,
that's I.
Yeah, right. Well,
but what isn't all right is Poor Health.
Yeah, so I think when we were talking about doing, well, actually in our last news updates, we had talked about the passing of the mangaka for Berserk.
Rest in peace.
And so, of course, it brings to light, the working conditions and the mental health conditions of these authors, of these artists. Well, unfortunately, one of the biggest names in terms of manga and anime, Jujutsu Kaisen, the mangaka for Gege Akutami, has recently posted, or at least through their publishing company's Twitter, that they'll be taking a hiatus from producing more Jujutsu Kaisen for the time being, citing that they need rest, that they're mentally unwell. Well, not necessarily mentally unwell, but they definitely needs to take a step back and take some time to recuperate before getting back into producing Jujutsu Kaisen.
To be fair, the mangaka later on stated that the hiatus will be around 1 month.
Yeah,
on Twitter.
Yeah,
so it's not that long.
Not that long, but I think they'll very much need to have that 1 month because we don't need to divulge too deep into it. But we have had a look at rough ideas of what a mangaka's schedule would look like, and the fact that days off don't really exist, sick leave doesn't really exist, and if they do, sick leave usually coincides with a hiatus because of how severe and how long these illnesses and these mental breaks tend to be. So look, I think like as much as we love Jujutsu Kaisen, the anime was fantastic. It's on Netflix now as well.
Yeah, it's on Netflix now.
But at the same time, we also care way more about the mangaka's health, and rather than take the time they need to take a break, catch their breath, and just enjoy the better things in life before finding themselves ready to get back to work.
So this news of the hiatus came out right after the publishing of Volume 16 in Japan, and Volume 10 in English came out not too long ago. So take all the time you need, basically.
Yeah, look, I mean, Season 1 was fantastic. It's on Netflix now. Go ahead and watch it. If you have watched it, do your part in supporting Gege Akutami. Go ahead and if you can find the manga in your local bookstore, or if you're going to buy it online, do what you can. Give them the support you can whilst they're taking their time off, and just enjoy the fruits of their labor. It's a really, really good anime, and I'm sure the manga will be able to live up to the expectation if you've already caught up to Season 1.
So hype.
It's great.
I mean, what was it? The Shibuya Incident is the name of that arc.
One is, I think it's like multiple volumes long. I think it's like 1 or maybe even 2 volumes just for that one arc alone. To be fair, it's like when we talk about shows, talk about properties like Naruto or One Piece, like volumes could take up like one arc, but at the same time, Jujutsu Kaisen is technically still in its infancy. It's still a very young manga.
It sold 50 million.
It's oh man. In terms of like the trajectory, in terms of how many volumes sold by the time the 15th volume released, it was actually on track to beating the numbers that One Piece had posted. Like, that's phenomenal.
That's crazy.
I mean, granted, in terms of like the digital age and like the ease of access when it comes to buying digital manga, yeah, I can see like it had some help compared to when One Piece released, back in 1999. But hey, like, let's not take anything away from it. It's doing fucking phenomenally.
Yeah, it is. So our last piece of news is
what else has been doing phenomenally.
Okay,
Jason?
yeah, I don't know. Okay,
this one's the weirdest.
This
bit
is
of news.
I don't know how to explain this. Okay, so
Do you like horse racing?
yes.
Do you like cute girls? The cute anime girls?
I
doing
mean,
cute
actually, sorry.
things?
I do not really like horse racing. Do I like cute girls doing cute things? Yes. Do I like monster girls? Kind of.
Right. Well, how about cute monster girls doing cute things in a horse racing anime?
So Uma Musume is exactly what Will described. There are 2 seasons of it. Season 1 was made by PA Works, which did Sakura Trick and Shirobako. And then Studio Kai did season 2, which is the same studio that did Super Cub, that is airing right now this season, which I really, really like. And we reported a while ago when I was talking about Super Cub that Studio Kai is not doing very well in terms of financials, and they're in debt, basically. But here's the thing. Season 2, the Volume 1 Blu-ray of the anime sold more than 55,123 copies in the second week, making it a grand total, as of right now, of 167,153. Now, you may hear those numbers and think that those are actually pretty small numbers in the grand scheme of things. And you are kind of right, because as we said earlier in our last episode, Blu-rays are pretty expensive and no one really does physical media anymore except the diehards. But here is the thing. The number that Uma Musume Season 2 Volume 1 Blu-ray did, it broke the all-time record for cumulative sales of a TV anime single disc, which previously belonged to Evangelion Volume 10, with 131,166. So it beat it by over 35,000. Like, Will, what is this?
I don't understand. Have you watched any of Uma Musume?
1 episode.
How batshit weird is it?
So, I'm going to spoil a bit of Season 1, Episode 1, which was the girl arrives at the horse race, like the racetrack, and it's just like, like starry-eyed, like super hyped, and like, oh, these are all like my idols and stuff like that. And then behind her, who we later found out is like a coach or something, ends up touching her calf. And it's like, wow, this is a really strong calf.
As you would do if you were talking about a horse.
Yes.
Except that in this case, the horse is
a half horse girl.
It's not like a BNA / B-Stars kind of situation, is it?
I don't know, but I stopped watching after that. I was like, okay, Monster Musume, which is that harem monster girl.
Yeah.
I can get down with that. Like, that's fine. But that was just...
Hey, look, man. Season 2 is holding a pretty solid MAL score of 7.97.
Yeah, and the first season was 7.29. So it's a dramatic increase.
And I think just to put some numbers in perspective, I can't necessarily confirm, but I did see that like most seasonal like box sets for Blu-rays, at least in Japan, they go for around 12 to 13,000 yen.
Yeah.
So roughly 100 to 120 to 130 bucks US. So You're saying it sold more than 55 copies, right?
in the second week, and a grand total of 167,000.
So just in that second week alone, roughly that translates to about $7.5 million US, which is no small feat. That's a lot, especially for physical media, right? Mostly everything is now online when it comes to buying digital videos or digital manga, or like just streaming it from like a service. So it's actually getting numbers from buying physical media. 7.5 mil US is huge.
It beat Evangelion.
Yeah.
It beat Evangelion. It beat Evangelion.
Like anytime people talk about anime, like you talk about NGE, people know what the fuck you're talking about. People ask you, what the fuck is this Musume Monster Derby, whatever, this Horse Girl Derby?
Okay, okay. Maybe we're not getting it. Okay.
Maybe we don't. Maybe.
Horse racing. A lot of people like horse racing. A lot of people like Monster Girls. I think Monster Girls are cool. So if you combine the two, maybe match made in heaven, I guess.
Oh, just to crunch the numbers as well, since it sold 167 cumulatively, that's just over $21 million US. That's 2.17 billion Japanese yen. Bruh.
I don't understand this.
Bruh, the COVID economy is weird. Is that what it is? We're all locked in, so it's like, what the fuck are we gonna buy? Oh, look at this. There's a box set for Horse Girl.
Dude,
Darbies.
I've lose faith in humanity, so I'm just gonna go with Monster Girls now. Is that how it is? I kind of get that, but
to be fair, look, hey, props to the company. I mean, the fact that you've mentioned that they're going through some financial troubles, I'm sure this is like good news for them. Hopefully, with whatever they continue to produce, hopefully Studio Kai is able to balance out the books. To be fair, though, like debt of that sort, it's not as simple as let's just make as much money as we can. Like, there's definitely a lot of different ways in handling their debt. But look, if they can continue to keep doing work, hey, hopefully they'll continue to sell a fuck ton of Blu-rays.
And maybe the terms and conditions of their contract or whatever. So maybe they would get all the money from the Blu-ray. Maybe they get half or, whatever. We don't know, and we'll never know.
Do you own any Blu-rays?
Nope.
I only have one Blu-ray disc, and that's for Sin City.
Wow.
Yeah.
The first Sin City?
Yeah, and Sin City came out 2005?
I have HD DVDs. Does that count?
Yo, that shit died fast as fuck.
Hey, I had it on my Xbox 360. I loved it, okay?
Yeah, Sin City came out, and that was the sequel. Sin City came out in 2005. Boom. Got it right.
Look, if you watch Uma Musume season 1 or season 2, you really like it or you really don't like it, let us know. I need to know what everyone is thinking about this anime because I just need some sort of explanation. I'm not trying to diss anybody, their tastes, or Studio Kai or PA Works even. I just want to know what's so good about it, but I don't really want to watch it. Is that bad, Will? I don't really want to watch it.
Let's just put it this way. Uma Musume Season 2 on my anime list in terms of its score ranking is in the top 600 of their database. It's 590th. Now think about how much anime exists on the database. That's fucking incredible for such a weird niche anime.
Okay. All right. So that's the news, right? Well,
I guess we're sold. I guess we have to watch Uma Musume then.
Okay. You're gonna bite the bullet on. You're gonna take the bullet on that one. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Sure. Whatever.
All right. We'll report back. We'll report back
in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Sure. I'm sure you would get there.
Who the fuck knows?
Who cares?
All right.
No, not who cares. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure people care.
We care. That's why we're trying to figure out.
We care to find out what the fuck is up with this shit.
Hey, who knows? Maybe I don't know, 2 weeks or a month down the road, will be like, Jason, you know that horse derby girl anime? This shit is good. It's really good. And I'll be like, okay. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
And
Who
then
knows? It might be lit as fuck. It might be fucking legit.
Do you say lewd?
Lit.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say lewd.
I don't care if it's lewd or not. I just want to know if it's good.
Okay. Well, that is the end of our news section.
Yeah.
And instead of taking our usual break, because we don't have a what we've been watching reading section, we're just going to dive straight into our main discussion topic. What do you think, Will?
Well, I mean, the fact that we ended off on a weird sports anime, we might as well go into it now. So, cue a terrible transition into today's topic. What are we talking about today, Jason?
We're talking about sports anime, Will.
Yo. So, before we get into it, let's just be clear on the whole sports anime thing and our levels of appreciation for it, because I think it's, well, quite clear based on the sort of anime and manga that Jason and I consume individually that we're going to have different perspectives on certain genres, certain topics. In this case, the genre being sports. So I would say, like, for myself, like, while I really like anime and manga, sports is my thing. Like, I fucks with sports.
You get down with the sports?
Bruh, down and dirty, man. Like, fucking, like, I watch a fuck ton of soccer. I'm down with basketball, like gridiron football. I'll watch some volleyball if fucking Japan or China's playing. Any sport, really. I've probably spent time watching either live or, like, through streaming.
So
I can get down with that shit.
So for me, my bachelor degree was in health and kinesiology, which is essentially sports science and movement science. All my, I guess, friends at that time were all like personal trainers, athletes, and stuff like that. I was very involved in the sports department at my bachelor degree university. So I really like sports. I would have it ESPN on all the time when I was in the U.S.
Same.
It's either that or my video game like input. So then it was either video games or sports. That was it. I played a lot of sports, and obviously I majored in it. So I really like sports.
I think, like, for me as well, like, even if it was gaming and all that, like, with the housemates I lived with in California, we were either watching football on Sundays or we were playing Madden.
So I don't play sports games at all. None of them.
None of the sports simulations, right? No Madden, no FIFA, no 2K.
Nope.
They're fun.
Oh no, I'm not.
They do get stale after a while, though.
I'm not dissing it. It's just more like I just never got into it.
Mhm.
That's all. But I have friends who play all of the above.
Oh, I know people that, like, just
like
can't
Winning 11. Do you remember Winning 11?
Yeah.
It was huge in Hong Kong and
Winning
Japan.
11 is, yeah. Then, well, I mean, now it's like no longer about Winning 11, but now
Is it
Pro
PES?
Pro Evo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pro Evolution Soccer.
So also I love anime and I love manga. So it comes to no surprise that I consumed a shit ton of sports anime and sports manga throughout my anime consumption career.
Yeah, it took a while for me to get into sports manga and anime. I think it was because it wasn't so much like I wanted to keep the two separate. It wasn't like, oh, like sports should be sports and anime should be anime. Like that's not it. Like, that's just like a really limited way of trying to separate the two genres. It's more just, for me, watching the sport, like I like the passion when it comes to the athletes, really dedicating themselves to achieving success. You do like to see, like, the backstories of, how they got to where they are. But the main thing in the end is you just like to see your team win, or at least play a valiant effort to trying to win. So, like, whether it's watching, the FIFA World Cup, whether it's watching the Olympics, maybe watching the Roland Garros or any of the the major tennis events, I'm always, like, hyped with that shit. But when it came to sports, anime, and manga, like, it actually took me a while to get into it. Like, yeah, when I was a kid, like, I watched and read a lot of Ice Shield 21, which is an American football manga and anime, which to this day is still probably my favorite of all time. More the manga than the anime, but we'll get to that later. It was only really, like, in the last month that I actually started consuming sports manga and anime.
Right. For me, I've been consuming it throughout, as I said, throughout, like, my anime consumption career. I usually like sports from a perspective that I usually cannot get when it comes to watching a live action sports game. I think mainly, for example, one of the things that I really like that I think a lot of people either don't like or just outright hate about sports anime and manga is like the time freeze, or like things slow down and then you go through flashbacks or what the character's thinking, and then it's like pages and pages or minutes of the anime or manga, and actually the ball is still in the air or something like that. But to me, that is something that is a perspective that I cannot get from watching the games, because it all happens so quickly, or it's, instinct and muscle memory. And from a biomechanics sports science point of view, I really like techniques, the way things look, and how authentic something is. And it's just really hard sometimes to see it even in person, or a recording of a live action game, because it's normally, it happens so fast and decisions are made in a split second, and you see none of that. And I think sports anime and manga, one of the things that, the main thing that appeals to me is it offers that perspective.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like the live sports thing, it's because of the fact that things can happen so fast that it can immediately generate hype, right? Like, for example, seeing like a guy immediately like pulling off like a split second like back heel flick to unlock a defense, or to see somebody be able to tip a ball immediately once receiving it to the basket and getting someone to do an alley-oop. It's one of those, oh damn, dude, did you just see that shit? Yo, that just fucking see that? Like, it's those kind of hype moments. But when the inverse happens in sports anime and manga, that split second can drag out for like a whole 5 minutes, because you then slow down. You go down to the character's brain, and you're thinking, you're looking around, and everything is happening in slow motion. But you're literally seeing the thought process. You're seeing things unfold. It's a different appreciation. I can get down with it too. I think there's just, of course, like a different level of preference between you and I in terms of what appeals to us about sports anime and sports anime.
What do you mean sports anime?
As in the idea of sports, the idea of anime, and then sports anime in general. Like, because like we when you combine the two, right? Like, for me, like, I'm looking at the sports anime from a more, I guess, sports perspective. It's weird. I mean, like, in the end, I still care about like character development. I still care about the journey that the characters go through to get to where they are, because it happens in real life as well. But for me, it's still very much like the spectacle of the sport that I like.
But what is an infallible fact is, you and I both like sports, you and I both like anime, and we both like sports anime. So even though we come from two different places, doesn't mean that we cannot agree that all of the above is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's like I don't have to agree with everything to respect that, right? Just because you like the Pats doesn't mean that I have to start hating you, even though you support a terrible fucking team. Yeah, okay, fine. You're
like
however many fucking Super Bowls y'all won, sure, whatever.
You're calling me out, man.
It's okay. It's fine. I mean, I'm a Seahawks fan. I've gone through terrible years, except for that one championship.
I feel like very few people, not very few, but some people would just be like, "What are they talking about?"
It's sports, bro.
It's American football.
We're talking about fucking gridiron, bro.
So,
in the fucking end zone, bro.
Why don't you take off your jock cap and put on your professor cap?
Oh, so this is where we have to be a little more academic. We need to take a step back and actually analyze this from further afield, right? We're not actually on the field anymore. We're actually off the field.
We're in the classroom. So welcome to the Good Anime Palette Sports
101.
History of Anime Sports 101.
Sorry, we don't offer academic credit for this whatsoever.
No.
This is just extracurricular.
There's no prerequisites, though, so that's good.
Hey, exactly. You're free to join whenever you want.
Right. We are your professors, Professor Jason and Professor Will of the Good Anime Palette.
Yeah. So just to be clear, okay, it's like all jokes aside and all that. Usually, whenever we put together dockets and research, I'm not afraid to admit, Jason usually does quite a lot of the heavy lifting. I think it's just one of the things that he's really good at in terms of putting together a nice stylized docket, getting all the information ready, having everything presented so that when we're ready to present this podcast, whatever topic we're doing, we know the flow of the episode. We know what we need to talk about. We know the points to hit. This time round, though, because it's sports anime, even though I wasn't as into sports anime as a genre, I'm really into fucking sports. So this time round, your boy Will went fucking ham.
The dormant person, the beast was unleashed.
I went hard in the motherfucking paint, motherfucker.
You swear so much today. What's going on, Will? Is it because of sports? It has to be because of sports, isn't it?
This is the sports, man. This is
So
dude. Like
you're
whenever
gonna sound very dude, bro, aren't you?
Whenever I'm like participating in any sports, when I was playing soccer, basketball, water polo, fucking like even track and field, I would cuss a lot. It's just a way to intimidate the opponent. Hey, stand up, stand me up, man. Come at me.
Okay.
So I'm gonna come at you now with some history of sports anime and manga through the years.
Lay it on me. Lay it on me.
So we gotta go.
Can I like do a recline on my seat and just
break out your notepad as well because you're gonna be taking notes too, right?
Oh, damn it. Is this lecture recorded?
Well, it will be now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. So
Can I get the PowerPoint slides later?
So our school portal doesn't actually allow for students to download things off sites. This is all school property. So if you were to take this off, that's a breach of student-teacher confidentiality and all that.
Okay, I just need to make a couple of gestures to the people in the back of the room. It's nothing special. It's just like
we're not an accredited university, man.
Nah.
We're like the University
of Phoenix. No one is going to get that, but okay, let's go.
Okay, so we got to go back almost 100 years, back in 1928. So the animated short film called The Animal Olympic Games, which is directed by Yasuji Murata, is usually regarded as like the first ever sports anime. And, it came out in 1928 because it actually was inspired and then therefore developed due to the Summer Olympics that happened that year.
Now, if you could actually get footage of this, we would love to see it, but I don't think anybody has any footage.
Bro, this is like pre-World War II.
No, I know. I'm saying.
It's like if you can find it, it's probably in a museum somewhere. To be fair, you probably could actually find it because there's a lot of those digital museums in
like
Japan.
archive.
There actually are like some pretty dope digital museums in Japan. So like they probably would have those preserved. But
so Animal Olympic Games.
Yes.
So so the first sports anime is a furry sports anime.
Bro, I didn't really read into it. This thing is ancient as shit. But we're gonna start fast forwarding things because we now need to go into the boom of history of sports anime and manga. So traditionally, when it came to Japanese sports, usually we were talking things like combat sports, right? Like karate, kendo, judo. Now, because of the Japanese school curriculum, they deemed these sports as methods of promoting belligerence, aggression, violence. And that wasn't an image they wanted to have, especially within the school system. So they actually banned students from participating in these kinds of sports. But fast forward up to like 1950, the ban was lifted. Students were now able to freely explore whatever sports they wanted, and boom, that led to like a major boom in sports. Now, we also need to take a closer look into, of course, there was the tragic events of the Second World War all the way up to 1945, but, in terms of, the Japanese-American interactions, the Americans actually brought over quite a lot of sports. Right?
Especially baseball, right?
Baseball, one of them. So actually, in terms of Japanese sports, they very much like love their judo. They love the karate. They love their archery, like kyudo. But baseball has actually become, at that time, the nation's most popular sport. So there was like a massive boom in baseball manga. So it started off with manga series like Dokaben and the Star of the Giants. In terms of like sports anime and manga, baseball is the most featured one. At least when it came to my research from scraping data from Wikipedia.
So, two things I would like to chime in here. The first thing is, it is interesting that kendo, judo, and karate was deemed too aggressive. But whenever I think about those three sports now,
it's about discipline.
Exactly. It's about discipline, finding your inner peace. It's about self-defense. It's about not using it as an act of aggression, but a to further strengthen yourself and your resolve.
It's almost like an act of control,
right.
right? Because in the end, like judo is not so much act of inflicting pain on somebody, but more the act of submission to prevent someone to cause further damage upon you and others.
And kendo isn't just swinging a sword like a maniac. It is really like calculated and like a couple of hits and that's it.
Yo, have you ever done kendo before?
My friend did.
So when I was in Japan, okay, this is of course pre-COVID.
Do you have to do
times.
footwork with a wooden sword?
We had the whole, like, we had the swords, we had the whole robes and everything. We had to practice footwork. That was the hardest part. Like it wasn't even like the swinging of the sword. It was the footwork.
You have to do it for like a month.
So I had a crash course for a day. So when I was in Fukuoka about 2 years ago, I actually was able to take part in this this 1-on-1/2-on. It was 2 other people with me, and with a kendo master that was down in Fukuoka. Only for an hour though, but literally for 45 minutes, it was just footwork. 10 minutes of knowing how to swing the sword, and then the last 5 minutes was just smacking each other in the head, like actually like executing all the movements. Bro, that shit was fucking hard. It's not easy, but it's also extremely fun once you manage to actually pull off like a proper maneuver, knowing like your proper footsteps and landing a hit and scoring a point. Like scoring a point was awesome, but it hurt so fucking much to get hit.
So then my second point that I want to make was when Will earlier mentioned that he went all in on this docket, he didn't just go all in on the docket. He created an Excel spreadsheet of sports, anime, and I guess a bit of sports manga as well. Which is why he has that statistic of baseball being the most featured sport in the genre. So,
yeah, in terms of, at least, okay, again, I have to reiterate, all this data was scraped from Wikipedia. So, of course, there's going to be other databases, you know, like My Anime List, AnyChart, or even just in general, like Crunchyroll forums and all that, or even just going through Crunchyroll and Netflix, right? I'm not going that extensive. I'm not fucking crazy, but I also do like sports and manga and anime, so I'm going to do the best I can to at least put together as much information about this genre. So, in terms of baseball has around 14 to 15 series, whether anime or manga, and that's a fucking lot, because the next closest is actually basketball. Now, which is funny to me because basketball is not necessarily like a major sport in Japan. Like the Japanese basketball league is not as competitive, I'd say, and you don't really see that many like international Japanese basketball players. But when it comes to like fictional basketball, right? Like your slam dunks, your Ahunosoras, your Kuroko no baskets, they're fucking massive. People love that shit. Actually, speaking of slam dunk, when this is like 15, 20 years ago, I went to my cousin's place. He's several years older than me, and I knew how big this shit was because he had a whole wall just full of slam dunk manga.
So I have to admit something, which is I love Slam Dunk. I watched the original. I mean, there's only like the one series that has over 100 episodes. But I actually have a Slam Dunk jersey in my room.
That's sick.
I have Mitsuri, who is basically the three-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
I like him a lot. So I have his jersey in my room. I wear it from time to time, especially in the summer.
That's pretty legit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'll take a photo and I'll show you.
See, that's the thing, right? Like basketball itself, not necessarily that huge in Japan. I mean, it's way bigger in other parts of Asia. But when it comes to fictional basketball, fucking massive. Volleyball comes afterwards too in terms of popularity, or at least most featured.
And volleyball, I think, is something that makes a lot of sense because I feel that the volleyball teams, both men and women, were pretty good. Especially the men nowadays are also really good.
Yep. So there was, I mean, Haikyuu, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So like, if we go back into like the historical side, Japan's women's team and men's teams were doing quite well. In fact, like even like in 1964 during the Summer Olympics, that actually took part in Tokyo at the time. The Japanese women's volleyball team actually secured gold. So this meant, one, there was like more eyes and more popularity in women's sports. Therefore, like it started to create more of a focus on shoujo and josei demographics. So manga and anime that were more geared towards a female audience. So there was actually a anime called Attack Number 1.
Or Jason. Because Jason likes shoujo and Jose.
Right.
So
So anyway, Attack Number One was deemed to be like the first sports anime that was more geared towards a female audience, and it actually helped to create like a more introductions to a wider diversity of sports. So say for example like tennis and ballet, or like ballroom dancing and all the more obscure sports that you don't really see. They started showing up. There's a lot more of that. Then we move forward into the 1970s when merchandising was used as a main way to boost sales for anime. So say for example like Speed Racer, there was like ways to sell merchandise like toys and figurines and all that beyond the manga. Other stuff that started coming out from the 1970s was like Attack on Tomorrow, Dokuben as mentioned, as well as Kinnikuman, which is like the wrestling anime manga. Then we move forward into the 1980s. Now, this is the time when it coincided with science fiction and fantasy. So that's when those genres started increasing. And you started seeing more of the, sports manga kind of dropping down. However, there was one series that despite not, really, it was doing well in Japan, but it was doing insanely well elsewhere. And I'm talking about Captain Tsubasa.
I watched it as a kid, 100%. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, like at the time, Japan was not like a massive soccer nation. In fact, like they never actually made any like large tournaments up until like the 1980s, 1990s. I think they only made their first World Cup in like the late 1990s. So it influenced a lot of football players. I'm not going to go through all the names, so you're probably not going to know who they are. But that's when we started seeing a bigger resurgence of sports anime and manga. So now we move forward to the 1990s and 2000s, and we start seeing more obscure sports like fishing, jet ski racing, boat racing. But then, of course, Nin, because fantasy, sci-fi, those things were kind of driving the 80s. Why not merge the two and try and add some fantasy elements into some of the sports that we start seeing? So Ice Shield 21 had some fantasy elements. Other sports, they'll also have that too. And as I was talking about the more obscure sports, this was also around the time we started seeing more sedentary sports. So sports that was like not necessarily like physical. Like imagine like chess, mahjong, go, shogi. Those are we considered sports because the competitiveness, the skills, and the strategy required of it, you could deem them to be a sport. But that's why they call it sedentary and not physical sports.
And now there is a section that we will talk about sedentary sports in detail. But to just be really brief about it, I know a lot of people would, frown upon considering things like chess, shogi, go as sedentary sports, or sports in general.
Yeah.
Or for example, Evo, the fighting game tournament that is one of the biggest fighting game tournaments of the year. It premiered. It's got streamed on ESPN, and I remember very distinctly there were people on Facebook or on Twitter that were just being like, "Why is Street Fighter in replacement of Sports Center, for example?" And we will address that topic specifically, but we will consider these sports nonetheless.
And rightly so. But as Jason mentioned, we'll go hard in that shit later. Now, fast forward into modern day times, more contemporary times. So like we're talking about the 2010s and beyond up until now. This is when, we talk about like sports and hype, right? We talk about when
This is the good shit.
This is the time where it's like, you want to see some real crazy motherfucking shit about to happen. This is the real crazy motherfucking shit it's about that you're gonna have to watch. So we're talking shit like fucking Kuroko no Basket,
Yes.
Bushy Pedal, Baby Steps, March Comes Like a Lion, Jahaya Furu, Ace of Diamonds, and then Haikyuu.
Yep.
If we're talking about the king of sports anime right now, I don't think you can really contest Haikyuu.
Yeah.
Now, Haikyuu, if you don't know, I mean, like I knew about it, but I never watched it really in the end. Haikyuu is a volleyball anime, volleyball manga originally,
Which ended.
Yeah, the manga ended last year, and
Yep.
the anime is still running. But you should expect that there's going to be an end date soon.
They need to have a season 5 because the cliffhanger for season 4 is so massive. It is insane to me. I'm dying. I kind of want to read the manga, but I want to watch it animated, Will.
It'll come soon. maybe who knows? Maybe you just need Japan's women's or men's team to. Hey, actually, you know what? Since the Tokyo Olympics are around the corner, and it's in.
Yo, no.
If one of the men's or women's team wins gold at the volleyball, season final confirmed.
Okay, so basically, guys, when Tokyo Olympics is streaming live on your television stations or on the internet,
Can you just imagine everyone's just screaming to the top?
it's just like, guys, just do it for the good anime palette. Do it for the anime community. Just Haikyuu, Haikyuu, Haikyuu.
Yeah. If Japan's men's or women's volleyball team wins, hey, you're welcome, Japan.
It's like, go, let's go, Haikyuu, let's go.
But yeah, like that's the thing, right? I think like when it comes to like sports anime and manga, like it's not just like, oh, we're gonna make an anime about sports and then that's it. No, a lot of times actually there is like influence or coincidences that coincide with real life events. So say for example like the Japanese women volleyball anime I was talking about, right? Attack on Tomorrow. That came out as a result of Japan's women's victory in the 1976 Summer Olympics, as well as the FIVB, which is the volleyball international volleyball competition. They won the World Cup. They came first. They won gold. All Out is a Japanese sports anime about rugby. Japan's not necessarily like okay when it comes to Asia. Japan's probably the best when it comes to rugby, but when you go up against powerhouses like New Zealand and South Africa and England and Wales, like, ooh, you guys stomped. But back in 2015, when the Rugby World Cup was happening, Japan was playing against South Africa. Now, South Africa at the time, they were two-time world champions. They won the World Cup twice. Japan beat South Africa. It was fucking crazy. Like, no one had ever expected this to happen, but this was deemed to be the first major success of Japan's rugby team. A year later, All Out, the Japanese rugby manga, got adapted and it aired later. Yuri on Ice, rising stars like Mao Asada and Yuzuru Hanyu, they were killing it in the 2010s. Like, if we're talking like ice skating, they were the leading figures. Like, they were practically untouchable. And Yuri on Ice was inspired by that. Captain Tsubasa, they did a 2002 edition, which, at the time Japan was co-hosting the FIFA World Cup with South Korea. Yawara, which is a women's judo a judo anime. At the time, women's judo was just a demonstration sport for the Summer Olympics in 1988, before officially becoming an official sport in the 1992 Summer Olympics. And then, last but not least, this one actually, like, I knew about it and I haven't really got into it, but then you got into it first and you told me I had to fucking watch it. I mean, read it because I fucking love soccer. Blue Lock. Now, Blue Lock came out as a result of the 2018 FIFA World Cup, which France had won by beating Croatia 4-2. Japan didn't have a very good World Cup. In fact, like, Japan's team, whilst they have good players, they never really make it past the round of 16. I forgot which team they lost to, but I think
Germany?
They lost to Belgium. They lost to Belgium 3-2. It was a very close group. Belgium, I think, were ranked like in the top 3 at the time. So it was a very valiant effort, but they never had that cutting edge to push them past the round of 16. It was always the fourth match, no matter what, that they stumbled at. And so then, like, I think the manga kind of revolves around trying to figure out ways to push Japan into the next level. What Japan needs to be able to get to the top. And Blue Lock is a very, very good manga that was very much inspired by the fallout of the Japanese national team when they didn't make it past the round of 16.
So we have mentioned a lot of anime and manga titles. We're not going to go in depth on each of them now, but we will in a later section. The reason why we're trying to give you these reference points now is so that when we talk about the anime or manga specifically later on, you will then understand the significance of some of these properties or how they emerged or like why things got so popular.
Yeah, I mean, like, sports anime, like, it's 100-year journey. Like, it took a while to get to where it is now. And it's not as straightforward as, oh, here's an oh shit moment, here's a hype moment, therefore sports anime is great. No, there's a lot of things that go into it that make it the powerhouse that it is now. In the sense that, like, if we talk anime, there ain't nobody that don't know about Slam Dunk. There isn't anybody that doesn't know about Haikyuu. Them shits are like at the fucking top when it comes to anime in general, not just sports. So we wanted to sort of lay out the foundations of where it started, what it's developed into, and why it's so important in today's general anime society. Afterwards, after the break, we're gonna go into more of the opinions and the personal reasons as to what we like about the genre, the general perceptions of the genre itself, and of course, if we have time, we also have some recommendations too.
No, we will have time to give recommendations. I definitely want to give recommendations. We'll make time.
Cool. So
I did a quick tally just before the break. The top 100 animes and specials about sports under the sport genre.
Yeah.
Can you guess how many of those 100 I have watched?
65.
No. Okay. Not
fun. Okay, 42.
Closer.
40?
Lower.
Okay, 39.
It's 34. I think.
So you've pretty much watched 1/3 of like sports anime and manga
in the top 100 on Mal. If you include if I have watched Hajime no Ippo, that number would have vastly increased. But you gotta make do, right?
Yeah.
The point is, sports anime is very important in terms of my anime consumption career. I really like sports anime.
It's more of a newfound experience for me, but I can get behind it.
Yeah, because sports means a lot to you.
Exactly, and that's why, like, of course, when things get elongated and you start like watching like a hype moment kind of like stretch out over. Like, for example, like one of the arcs in Slam Dunk, which is like I think it was like a couple weeks, like it was like a 4-week tournament. That tournament took 6 years to complete in the manga.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Right? Like, that's the kind of shit where it's like, why should it take this long? It's like the Cell games for Dragon Ball. It's like every time you look at the next episode, it's like, why the fuck are they still doing the Cell games?
So the Slam Dunk anime. Okay, we're gonna digress, but I'll end on this point. The Slam Dunk anime is about 100 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
I need to double check. Will, can you help me out here? But the point is, if I recall correctly, because it has been a while since I watched it, they only went through 2 tournaments.
101 episodes.
Okay, so they went through 2 tournaments, and they were about to go to a 3rd, and then the anime ends. So it's like, read the manga. And I'm like, oh god. Yeah, but it's good. It's good.
Well, there's 31 volumes of Slam Dunk manga you can consume.
There's so
all
much.
Officially translated in English.
There's so much. Okay, let's take this break.
Yeah. All right. We'll catch you in a minute. We will go over, some of, the popular opinions and maybe some hot takes of sports anime, manga, and then of course we'll give you some of our suggestions if you haven't already watched them. You probably have, but we're gonna go and tell you again why they're really fucking good.
So sit down, warm your bench, have your energy drink on hand.
This is the time when you're actually watching live sports and it's halftime. So you have that 15-minute break before you get back into the sport. So this is the point where you go make yourself a sandwich, you go get yourself a beer, make some popcorn, go to do a bathroom break, and then we get into the second half.
But Will, isn't this episode of Sports Anime Good Anime Palette Edition has been sponsored by someone?
So funny enough, we actually managed to get a sports sponsor for this one.
That's correct. What is it, Will?
Yeah, so it's called a minwbu. Whenever you're ready to get on the field, you're looking around, you feel the blades of grass against your chins, and you need to score that one goal to help win. You look around your teammates, your shoes, your boots start to flicker. It's powered by teamwork. It's powered by friendship, cooperation. All you need is your team to rise up together, to attain success and win together. Team Wakuwea Boots. Boots are sold separately. Buy one, get one free.
Product may not represent true performance.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, when I was a kid and I was like, you ever watch Power Rangers when you were a kid? So I bought like,
What kind of question is that? Of course, I watched
so
Power
I
Rangers.
bought those fucking Power Ranger belts and I was like, yeah, pop it in. It's like, why have I not transformed into the Red Ranger? What the fuck?
All right, we gotta take a break.
All right, we'll catch you in a minute.
All right, peace.
Welcome back to the second half of the Good Anime Palette podcast. The co-hosts are getting out of the locker rooms and getting ready to get started for what we hope to have a scintillating second half. They had a very valiant display in the first half, but I think we're quite ready to see some of the the more juicy, the more hype moments of what this Good Anime Palette podcast can provide to the crowd. So we're going to go back to the live broadcast. Back to you, Jason.
Yes, hi. The first half was filled with some heated verbal exchanges and opinions, as well as some history lessons, because I feel like that sometimes athletes need to show where they come from in order to sort of show like the progress that they've made since then. So I think reporting live from the courts, I think both Will and Jason are ready to go. I think
we saw a really, really strong display from the first half, but if anything, the battle's only half won. So we're gonna have to wait and see how the second half unfolds.
They had us in the first half. Let's see if they have them in the second.
Yeah. Just a reminder, today's broadcast was brought to you by Team Wakawiya Boots, Human Dropbox, and Isekai Motors. Now, we're gonna go straight into the second half and what we hope to
Okay. So
this is like today's podcast is brought to you by Sprite, Mountain Dew.
The Sprite and Mountain Dew did not sponsor our podcast, but if you
nor would they ever feature as the dual podcast. Usually, you just have one major sports drink. Almost always it's Pepsi.
No. It is the Pocari Sweat.
Okay, what's the Pocari Sweat fiction in
Haikyuu? I asked you. I don't remember.
Sakari something.
Pocari Sweat. Okay. Or no, what's that famous sports brand in Japan that they all have?
Mizuno?
Basic? ASIC?
ASIC.
So, yeah.
Back to ASICs.
So Jason and Will is here. We're back from our break. We tried to make a funny intro, but I fell apart. My bad.
Yeah, it's okay. Anyways, so we kind of wanted to backtrack a little bit because we did talk a bit about sedentary sports. So we're talking about like shogi, go, kurata. When we talk about sports, we have to remember as well that it's a very wide-ranging genre. In that we're not just talking about like teamwork sports, like physical sports, solo sports. We also include things like auto racing. Right, so I talked a bit about like boat racing, jet ski racing. In the world of sports, I think, especially for the purpose of this podcast today, we're also going to include stuff like car racing, drifting. So
Initial D
essentially, Wangan Midnights, and to an extent Redline as well. But we'll talk about those more in depth as the second half unfolds.
So I want to reiterate that everyone's definition of sports varies. You get the very traditional, athletic sports definition of it has to be a physical sport, solo or team. So therefore, all the chess, all the shogis, all the goes, all the like video games, esports.
You could still have like solo sport. I mean, like tennis and golf and all that, bowling, right, darts. But in the end, right, like we're not just talking about the physical elements of a sport. We're also talking about mind games, mental dexterity, strategy, patience, calmness, and all that. Like, there's a lot of factors that contribute to what people will consider a sport.
So my primary singular, like if there's one thing I have to say that constitutes as a sport, it is competitiveness.
Yeah.
That is the quintessential barrier that needs to be crossed in order for me to say it's a sport.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point because there is, for example, like if we talk about like competitive sports, poker is considered a sport, right? It's a card game, but you can still apply a lot of mental strategy and dexterity into it. But there is a clear definition, at least for our podcast, in that just because it's a card game doesn't necessarily mean it's a sport. So, for example, like TCG, trading card games, right? Like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, we will not include those as a sport simply because of the fact that there are factors in which there are elements of pay to win in which you can modify the base deck of cards that you have, whereas with poker you're always stuck with the same 52 cards no matter what.
Now, there are a lot of intricacies and a lot of amendments, addendums, appendixes, whatever you want to call it, that you can add to any argument. But for us, primarily, whether it is sedentary or not, that is, sports that would revolve around more mental dexterity, more strategy. Like, again, we keep mentioning those same couple of ones: Go, Shogi, Karuta, which I will mention very much later on, and also just
big Chihayafuru fanboy.
Yeah, I know, I'm such a big Chihayafuru fanboy. But just esports in general. Like, if we talked about video games in an earlier episode, I think episode 6.
Yep.
And anime, and I would consider definitely that a lot of esports is considered sports. And whether or not you agree with that or not, I mean, like, it's okay to not agree. But for us, right now, Will and I, it counts as a sport. And if you really want to pick it apart, we will call it sedentary sports. But there are sports, period.
Yeah. So I guess this is like a moment for us to sort of, discuss the realm of sedentary sports and where it really fits in within this genre. Because I think like some of the really popular sports anime and mangas are actually sedentary sports. I mean, like if you're talking like in the 2000s, you had the Hikaru no Go, then you also had...
I read all of it. I really like Hikaru no Go.
Right, and then you also have stuff like Jahayafuru, you have March Comes in Like a Lion, you have Saki. I think generally, like when you anytime you think about sports anime, sports manga, your mind immediately gravitates towards like the likes of like Captain Tsubasa, Slam Dunk, fucking Haikyuu as well.
You know, the ones that reflect the sports you see on TV that tells you it's a sport.
Right. Like if it's on ESPN or Sports Center or whatnot, like that's what you would deem traditionally as a sport. But when it comes to the realm of sports anime, whilst those are very popular sports to watch in anime and manga form, actually like people like take notice of the other ones, like for example, like Go and Shogi and Kurota and Mahjong as well.
And similarly, if we go back from sedentary sports a little bit, even sports like ballroom dancing, like Welcome to the Ballroom is one anime that I really, really enjoyed. It is definitely physical exertion, mental exhaustion, competitiveness. It has all the traits that I would consider a sport. Red Line, for any Formula One, real life Formula One races, those people undergo so much mental and physical stress, with G-force and stuff like that. Initial D, it is, all about reflexes, is all about racing, understanding how your car works and things like that. It is a sport, 100%.
Yeah, and then there's always going to be that argument of like, oh, but like Mahjong, right? Like that's just luck, right? Like it's not always based on skill. Like you just be really lucky and win anyway, right? But like even then, like regular like quote unquote traditional sports,
there's Hail Mary passes. There is half court
shots.
shots.
There's always an element of luck as well, right? Like for example, like if you're playing an outdoor sport like soccer, right? Like what if the wind changes direction like in the last second as you prepare for a free kick, or like you're going for a save, but then all of a sudden because it's raining, the ball is like wet and slippery, so therefore you can't get as good a grip on the ball. Like there are a lot of conditions that can change the pace and the outcome of a sport, and it's in the same way where like if you play Mahjong, you play Shogi, you play Go, and you make one wrong move, it can really like crush your strategy. And so then like these are the kind of things, the kind of genre, the kind of series that we don't necessarily see like the mental aspect, the emotional aspect that goes behind an athlete's mind. right? When we're talking about like volleyball, soccer, basketball, the results show itself like why people care about the sport. Like people will care to win, people care to see like 6 shots, people get to see crazy goals being scored and all that. But when it comes to mahjong, when it comes to Go, the level of technical ability and strategy that goes behind a successful gameplay, that's you're not really going to see that like played out in other sports.
So, as of right now, we have mentioned everything that we have mentioned is something that is based on real life.
Yep.
The sport of whether it is racing, volleyball, basketball.
There's live broadcasts of poker tournaments. Bro, there's even professional lumberjacking.
Exactly. So there is tons of that. But you see, when you go into anime and manga, as it always is with anime and manga.
We're about to do this, huh? Yo, this is a sport that I'm really hyped about, too.
Anime and manga just looks at real sport and go, yeah, but this is really good, and we have a lot of those. But what if we made our own sport up? And of course, in true fashion of anime and manga, when the weebs unite, they shall create fictional sports, and fictional sports in anime. And one of them, Will and I watched. When did we watch it? Like
about, I'd say like half a year ago.
And what is this? What is? First of all, what is the anime? Will,
we're talking about motherfucking Keijo.
Okay.
Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! However many exclamation marks it has.
6.
It's great.
Okay,
it's a really.
It's not called motherfucking Keijo.
It's just called Keijo.
It's just called Keijo, but it's very hype. Now, you might ask Jason and Will, what is Keijo?
It's butt wrestling
and boob wrestling.
Butt and boob wrestling, but on a platform in the water. Yeah.
Now, you will hear this and go, okay, Jason, Will, you're crazy. Turn off the podcast.
That's why you're watching this show, like purely for the sports element. Yeah, you'd be fucking right. This is literally, we watched it because of the fact that it's an intense sport.
They play it straight. This is the crazy part, is that the premise is so absurd. And this is why I want this to be the first anime that we sports anime that we talk about, because
and eventually maybe even recommend, right? It's on Crunchyroll in front of me.
Not even maybe will recommend. I recommend it because it is so off the wall crazy. It has the underdog story. It has the training arcs. It has the competitiveness, and it has even the absurdity that anime is defined by. And they play it so straight and serious that it has so much heart. I don't.
You buy into it.
I don't understand why I like it that much, but I do like it. Like, is it an exceptional anime? No. But is it a good anime? 100%.
Bruh, they go hard on the technique and strategy. They talk about how, like, when you whip your hips and, like, you do it at a certain angle, it actually causes, like, physical degradation, and therefore you lose stamina and your whip attacks are actually, like, weaker over time.
There's a physical therapy kind of session that they go into that is just completely unnecessary because who cares? But also, they do care, and they really thought far into this. So when we say boob and butt wrestling, yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, we're not like kidding you.
And then when they get into the super moves, it is like, oh my god.
And the references as well in the show, they're so fucking hilarious.
We won't spoil any of them. We can't because it's not fair. But
yeah, you just have to watch it for yourself. It's on Crunchyroll. It's on Funimation. Just 12 episodes plus 6 episodes of an OVA. Just go ahead, go ham.
It's a good time.
It's fun, and like we're not shitting you either. We're not doing this as
it's
like
not a bit.
This is not a fucking meme. Okay, we're not memeing you. We are legit endorsing Keijo. Go ahead and watch it. If you have a Crunchyroll Funimation account, you absolutely have to watch it, or just sign up and you have a plethora of other manga and anime you can check out too.
So before the break, I kind of put Will on the spot and asked him how many sports anime I have watched, and that number in the top 100 on my anime list is about 32, 33, which is a lot, I admit. Now, I have noticed a very particular trend when it comes to sports anime, which, to be fair, is not that hard to to discover, which is, it seems to me that sports anime and manga split into two kind of categories. There is the serious sports anime that focuses on the sport and the players and, like how to play the sport well. They show the games, they show the matches, and in fact, if anything, the character development and stuff is kind of like the downtime, the low in the ebb and flow of game and then rest, and then game and then rest, or training arc and then game, so on and so forth. Then there is the other side, which is, even though a sport is being highlighted as part of the sports anime, it actually takes kind of a back seat towards character development, characters overcoming their adversity, people changing their ways, being better because of a sport, rather than them playing the sport on an in-depth level, on an intricate game-by-game basis sports anime.
And then that inadvertently then helps to highlight the sport itself, right? Like, you get to see all the elements of that character developing, like, being a better person when it comes to teamwork, having more of an ego, having more assertion in terms of the outcome of a game. Like, you see all these characteristics develop as the anime develops. Therefore, you can start to see how this bleeds into the sport itself, and then you can have a newfound appreciation for the sport.
So, one of the mangas that I read for this episode, and I am so glad I did. It's been on my plan to read list for ages. As I said, I really like Slam Dunk. The mangaka recently came back from hiatus to continue, but let's see how long the manga series will continue on for. It is called Real, which is about wheelchair basketball. It reminds me of Murder Ball. Do you remember that documentary?
Yeah.
And that one's also about like the Paralympics and wheelchair sports, and it's really good. The documentary of Murder Ball is really good, but also Real, the manga about wheelchair basketball, is really good. Now, Will, you have read a couple of chapters? I read a couple. I read like 7 volumes of it.
They don't hold any punches when they call this manga real, because it's really real in terms of like the pitfalls of getting into the sport and like the
trauma. Yeah. I'm not really going to spoil too much on the storyline, because by doing so you really kind of eliminate a lot of the significance of it. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that even though that manga is about wheelchair basketball, there isn't that much wheelchair basketball being played. Rather, it focuses on these 3 people who, because of wheelchair basketball or because of their interactions with each other, either learn or grow or overcome adversity.
Yeah, it's not one of those like typical like, oh, you see trick shots and sick plays, or like you just watch like a whole like David versus Goliath kind of like underdog story. Like, no, this is like when it comes to actually like focusing on the sport that is wheelchair basketball, you're going into the minds and the character interactions of the people involved in the story.
It's more like a character drama with sports rather than a sports anime in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
I think another good example of this, which is an anime, which you have seen some of, is Run with the Wind.
Yep.
I have seen all of Run with the Wind. It is an anime that was made a couple of years ago. I think 2019, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It is made by Production IG. It is 20-something episodes, I think 2 curves, so 24, 25.
Yep.
It is about marathon running. There is, to be fair, there's quite a decent amount of training, and in the end they actually do run the marathon. And
I watched like 6 episodes and they're still training.
Yeah, I know, because they have to qualify. But the payoff is unfortunately at the end, when everything comes together and everyone runs the marathon, and then it is just so good. But the payoff is so late, and it's all character development with some running here and there, that if you are just into it expecting that it's about running all the time, you are going to be disappointed.
I guess in a sense as well, right? Like I think like ping pong, the animation would kind of fall under that umbrella too.
Absolutely.
Because like yes, there are like quite a lot of like ping pong matches. I mean, the fact that like the whole story is revolved around one major tournament, but I don't think the ping pong itself is the center of focus. It's more rather like the carrier to like learning more about the characters themselves.
Just got to smile, right?
Right? You just gotta
like, be the hero.
Find that mojo, you know? It's like find the reason why you want to play ping pong in the first place.
We consider ping pong the animation, which is made by your
Tatsunoko,
boy.
Yeah. Well, it's made by fucking Masaki Yuasa.
Who did Devilman Crybaby, among many other things. But Devilman Crybaby is on Netflix.
Yeah, but this one was not done by Science Saru. It was done by Tatsunoko Productions.
That is true. But ping pong, the animation is...
Oh, it's elite.
It's 10 out of 10. 100%. I really teared up. I think you and I both teared up. I definitely teared up.
I got emotional too.
That one monologue, it was so good. And you're right. It is definitely character drama that happens to revolve around ping pong. I think that doesn't mean that it's any less of an anime, or if a sports anime focuses on sport, means that it's a lesser anime because it abandons a lot of character development. No, we're not saying that. But they're two different kinds. And if you go in expecting one rather than the other, you might not appreciate it as much, or you might not even, that's not what you want.
Yeah, we're not trying to say that like you're missing the point of these shows and whatnot, or like you need to look at it from a different. It's more just like you have to understand that with these kinds of series, it's a different kind of appreciation. Like you're not going to be sitting there and waiting for the main character to bust out like a crazy slam dunk or score a goal from like the halfway line and like pull off a play to save their season or win a championship. No, it's you look at people through their personal struggles. You look at them trying to face adversity but keep getting knocked down, or just being lost because of the fact that they were once amazing at this sport but then couldn't find their way back to the top and have therefore then sunk themselves into a deep depression and trying to find ways to, well, maybe not for themselves but through the team they have around them, to get themselves back up to the perch that they once sat on.
So this rule of these two different types of sports anime also even applies to sedentary sports.
Yep.
So I like the Monogatari series, which is made by Studio Shaft, a lot. It's my favorite IP in general, even though none of them are, I would say, 10 out of 10s, but they're very good, 100%. I keep saying 100% today. Then Studio Shaft also did March Comes In Like a Lion, 2 seasons of it. It's about a player who plays shogi professionally, and he is like a high school student. It is a very character-driven drama, and they do play shogi, but shogi is not really, how do I say it? It's not really about shogi, but it's also, without it, it is not March Comes In Like a Lion either. So that contrasts with another sedentary sport anime that Will mentioned earlier that I adore is Chihaya Furu, which is about the competitive sport of kurata. If I had to explain it, it's
word association.
It basically is. What is that YouTuber? ProZD.
It's his favorite.
It's his favorite anime of all time, Chihaya Furu, and I love Chihaya Furu. Even you thought that I would put it in my top 10.
Yeah.
The only reason why I didn't is because I think a lot of people won't understand karate, but it would be in my personal top 10.
I remember I tried to watch it before, and I got to the first episode. I tried starting it, but I think it was just one of my own personal biases at the time when I was just like, "Hey, if this is meant to be a sports anime / manga, where's the hype moments? Why am I not like trying to feed into like this person trying to grow and become the best that there is at their relevant sport?"
And Chihaya Furu does do that. It doesn't focus a lot on character drama that much. It focuses on actually playing the sport. It also features a woman as the main protagonist, which is rare, and they do it really well. and they spend. I think season 3 came out very recently. I think 2020 because
2019 and it
and
ended
then
2020.
and then it jumped into 2020. I think it was like December, January,
I
February.
think officially it came out winter 2020.
Right, and
Yeah.
then it lapped over to 2021. Right, so in there, I would say half that season is dedicated to games being played, and it is intense. It is crazy, and all the themes that you've heard in any of the sports properties of live action, anime, and manga are all there. Underdog, the veterans trying to recapture their their once placed high, like their once was high pedestal high. I'm at a loss for words. Or the young blood, overtaking the old people, the new ways of strategy versus the old traditional ways. All of these team sports, individual sports, mental exhaustion, improving techniques, discipline. Chihaya Furu has all of them. It is really good.
And it's about a sport that you probably never heard of. I think one thing I do actually want to go over as well is, which we didn't do earlier, is just to basically list out all the sports that actually get featured in anime. It's a long list, but this actually just helps to show like the breadth that there is in terms of sports anime, and that there really is no limit to what you can feature.
Oh yeah, okay. So, and also what you would want, what we would consider sports.
Yeah.
All right, drop it on us. Well,
all right, so we got baseball, basketball, association football known as soccer, volleyball, boxing, prism dancing, American football known as gridiron, gymnastics, shogi, swimming, tennis, cheerleading, competitive cheerleading, figure skating, horse racing, ice hockey, kendo, mixed martial arts, airsoft, auto racing, badminton, climbing, cycling, golf, judo, mahjong, professional wrestling, street racing, air rifle, ballroom dancing, beach volleyball, billiards, competitive karuta, competitive yo-yo, diving, go, high jump, highway racing, hydroplane racing, inline skating, jet ski racing, kabaddi, karate, kart racing, keijo, kyudo, also known as Japanese archery, lacrosse, long jump, motorball, which is a fictional sport set in the world of Battle Angel Alita, almost said Battlestar Alita. Motorsports, motorcycling, naginata, competitive quiz bowls, rugby union, different from rugby league, scuba diving, skateboarding, ski jumping, softball, sumo, surfing, table tennis, track and field, water polo, weightlifting, as well as wheelchair basketball.
Okay, so I am going to look like an idiot because as you were listing those sports, it's karuta, and I mispronounced it.
I mispronounced it as karate as well.
It's like the higurashi when it's
higurashi.
higurashi.
Higu and higa. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm such a bad person.
Hey man, vowels are hard.
Karuta. Did I mention that English is not my first language?
It's
nor
actually,
Japanese. Really.
English wasn't my first language either.
Yeah, exactly right.
So that's like that just basically shows that like when it comes to making a sports anime or sports genre, or sports manga, the genre is vast. There's so many sports out there that like you might not have considered a traditional sport, but there are people who would be like, yeah, no, that's competitive. This is a competitive sport. I call it a sport. I'm gonna back it. I'm gonna support this shit. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future there's a competitive lumberjacking anime.
I've been saying this since episode 0. I feel that anime and manga can be about anything and could make it interesting.
Like jousting.
Like wine tasting,
like
remember?
Human jousting.
Human jousting, okay.
Okay, back onto like our regular scheduled programming. So, we were talking about, sports manga and anime that, we would deem as one specific category in which the more of the focus is on the character as opposed to the sport. And then, of course, there is the focus, which is the sport in general, right? So when it comes to those kinds of shows, one that comes to mind, which I absolutely fucking adore, and it's a newcomer. I think it came out around 3 years ago. Was licensed and it's a Netflix original on it's a Netflix original called Kengan Ashura, which is a anime focused on mixed martial arts. So it was originally a manga, and man, the anime is just oof. The level of technical ability and strategy that goes into the anime is just because I watched a fair amount of mixed martial arts. Like I watched a fair amount of UFC events. I've watched some boxing as well. I've been to UFC events before when they were actually like going out to Macau. So when it comes to watching the show itself and seeing how mostly accurate the grapples are, the takedowns are, like when it comes to stuffing a takedown, having like good arm and leg defense, going for knee shots instead of going for the upper body to weaken the opponent to reduce their stamina, or like when you're going for like a grapple and you're putting pressure on their rib cage to reduce their lung capacity, so breathing becomes harder. That level of technical ability going to the show is just like, fuck me, this is amazing. It's crazy they went to that level because most of the time when you're watching a sports anime, it's just, oh, dude has a really powerful kick. Dude has a really good jump shot. Dude has a really, really strong forearm that can throw a ball like 100 miles per hour. Cool. But when you're actually breaking it down and seeing like the movements of the character and how it actually translates onto screen, it's done very well. To the point where like I've seen a couple of YouTubers who are like, you know, professional or semi-professional fighters breaking down those scenes and actually reenacting them. There is like you can tell they put a lot of research into the show. Now I know that you tried watching a bit of it, and admittedly, one of the things that people kind of complain about the show is the use of 3D CG.
Okay, so I have a problem with 3D CG. Not that like a grudge, but for example, I've heard from multiple people, including yourself, Will, that Kengan Ashura is really good. I've heard from multiple friends that says Kengan Ashura is really good. Or like Knights of Sidonia is actually pretty good. I couldn't. I tried. It feels, I don't know if I don't think it's bad per se. It just feels odd to me. And then
do you know what it is? It's because you got spoiled by Land of Lustrous.
Basically, Studio Orange, who did Land of Lustrous and Beastars, is the shiznit. And if nobody else can do 3D like they do, then I don't really
bother,
care.
Right?
I don't really care.
Polygon Pictures like to talk to you.
I did like. I am reading. I mean, speaking of things I put on hold, I am reading the manga Knights of Sidonia, and that one was the 3D. Even though the art style is almost exactly the same, I feel that it is much easier to appreciate. To be honest.
But back onto Kengan Ashura. If you like mixed martial arts, or you just like fighting in general, and you're not like down with like the typical shonen fighting anime and manga, check this shit out. It's really good. I can guarantee that it'll be a fun time. If you can look past the 3D, I'm actually personally okay with it. I'm not too fussed about 3D, but I can see why people like when watching it, they're a little bit about it.
So now that Will has pushed Kengan Ashura, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna trade off, right, with shows or mangas that we like. The next one I'm gonna push for is Saki.
Yo, okay.
Made in 2009 by Gonzo Pictures, I think.
Yep.
It is about mahjong. Now, as someone who grew up in Hong Kong, I have
mahjong is life, dude.
I mean, look,
you go to any like Chinese family gathering, you go to any like family banquet,
like my aunt and my grandma, and
there's going to be like 6 tables, everyone playing mahjong. Your aunt, your uncle, your grandma, your grandpa, your friends of friends, your brother, your dad's friends, your mom's friends. They'll be hitting them tiles on the table.
I mean, I don't like. I feel that some people are really immersed in it, and I feel that it is not necessarily everyone acknowledges mahjong as sometimes even as a legitimate kind of pastime.
Yeah, but in the end, whether you're like you play it or not, like it's still part of the culture.
100%, and it also has evolved into Japanese people play mahjong especially, and their variation of mahjong is slightly different than the Chinese mahjong. Now, as someone who has understanding of the mechanics of Chinese mahjong, I was still able to understand quite a lot of it because a lot of it is the same. They just have Japanese words for it, other than one or two exceptions, which is the stick, which
Yeah.
I will get into later. You like the stick, right?
I mean, like once you've explained it, because
Riichi?
the Riichi, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. But Saki is about a mahjong club because in this fictitious world, there is mahjong players, professional players. It's treated like a professional sport. There are sports leagues, there are high school leagues. Pros earn a lot of money and recognition, and it's about this girl called Saki who plays with her family and always tries to not win or lose because she doesn't want to piss off her family members. And because of that, she has developed a quite unique set of playing styles and skills that a regular person would not acquire. And that trope is very common in sports anime and manga, where this one character has this one talent that surpasses the expectations of everyone, or is that one trick pony that carries this person before they can develop a multitude of skills. So why is Saki good? Because it is so dramatic. So dramatic.
It's also funny too. They've got some good it's got some good comedy gold.
Yeah, they definitely did. And one other thing that I definitely appreciate with Saki, which I have seen almost half of season 1. There's 25 episodes. I'm up to episode 10 or 11. They show the hands that the mahjong players have, and then they kind of go through the thought process of these people. So despite them having some kind of fantastical elements, because it's anime and manga, of course there will be some crazy shit. The grounded playing of mahjong is actually done very well. And in fact, you can even pause the anime when they show the hand and then hear what they say and actually understand what they're doing and how they go about their hand and winning or losing. And that is one of those things that I really appreciate that sports anime can provide, that just watching like a bunch of people play mahjong in real life, I could not understand or get.
It's a fun time. I definitely like watching it. I mean, like, I haven't watched as much as you have, but I mean, I could see like why you're vibing with it, because I vibe with it too. It's a fun time.
So, I like Saki a lot. Will, what is your next pick for sports anime or manga that we haven't mentioned yet?
Bro, okay, I mean, this is where it's kind of tough for me because I've only really gotten into the genre quite recently. I mean, for me, it was always on the periphery. I was always down to check it out, but because there was like so many other shows on my to watch list, that the sports anime that I had like pending never really like kept moving up to the top with like must watch lists. So at the time I was like watching like Dara Hedera, I was watching like Hellsing Ultimate, I was watching Black Lagoon and all that. So yeah, it definitely took a while for me to get into it, but once I started watching it, I started understanding, okay, this is why people care about Haikyuu. This is why people care about Kuroko no Basket. This is why people care about Yowamushi Pedal. Which actually, Yowamushi Pedal I would recommend. I don't know how popular it is compared to the other sports anime manga, but
we're here to highlight them, right?
I really like Yowamushi Pedal because it starts off with
just so that we're clear, what sport is it?
It's about cycling.
Okay.
Yep. So it starts off following the main character, who is just like us, just like you and me, a weeaboo. And he really, really wants to join the school's anime and manga club. But because of low attendance rates, low participation rates, the manga club has closed. And he gets all real upset about it. He decides, you know what, like, I'm going to go cheer myself up by cycling all the way from my school to Akihabara, which is where you can buy all your otaku goods and merchandise. Now, the school is situated really, really, really far away from Akihabara, but he cycles there every day. And because there are times when like they might sell limited edition merchandise or figurines or even like music CDs, he needs to get to Akihabara as quickly as possible. And on his little, city bike, or just basically, like, at least like when I was in California, we called those bikes cruisers because you just cruise along like the beach, right? So then he's biking along, and everyone's just like, "Why are you biking on this thing like up this hill? The bike is not made for uphill cycling." And then people start realizing, wait a minute, if you can do this on a regular city bike, what could you do with a road bike, like a proper racing bike? And that's when you start seeing a kid who initially had no interest in cycling whatsoever discovered that he's actually really fucking good at cycling. It's got the underdog story, the hype moments, the teamwork, compassion, and all that. It's just a fun show. I'm about halfway through. It's on Netflix. You find actually that Netflix has a pretty good catalog when it comes to sports anime, so you could, whatever we suggest, more often than not, you'll be able to find it on Netflix. So I would recommend Yowamushi Pedal.
Oh, going back real quick, Saki is available on Crunchyroll.
Yep.
So you can watch it on Crunchyroll.
Get your fix there. For the most part, most shows that we were talking about, if it's not on Crunchyroll, it's on Funimation. If it's not there, then it's on Netflix. You'll be able to find any of the shows that we recommend. If we don't recommend it, chances are you probably because you have to buy the Blu-ray box set.
So the next sports anime that is based on a manga, actually, that I recommend is unfortunately only available on Amazon Prime. It is Welcome to the Ballroom that I mentioned earlier. I have very little interest in dancing of any sort. I'm not very gifted in dancing. But I always admired people who can dance very well. We have a mutual friend that break dances quite a bit, or very rhythmic. I can't even. You know what I'm talking about, right, Will?
Yeah.
So this anime is about a guy who slowly but surely gets into the world of competitive ballroom dancing, and they show all different aspects of like different steps, different footwork, different moves. What are they called? What do they do? Usually there's always that one character in the sports anime that is not knowledgeable about the sport, and then it gives the opportunity for a senpai or a sensei to educate the person who is not very knowledgeable, which also definitely in turn gives us education as the viewer of the sport. They go into the point system in competitive ballroom dancing, just trying to find inspiration, how taxing it could be, relationships within dancing partners, and some, having romantic feelings, some having non-romantic feelings, some having, one-sided relationships. There's a bunch of different things, because when it comes to ballroom dancing, it's very physical. And it is really good. It's very touching at moments and intense. I really like Welcome to the Ballroom. And if you could watch it on Amazon Prime, you should definitely give it a chance. It also has a phenomenal orchestral soundtrack. So that's my next pick.
The next pick I have is also on Amazon Prime. It will cost you about $3.99 to rent it, but I think you should absolutely rent it. It's not a TV series, but in fact a movie.
Hold on a second. So you're looking at me as if like
you should know this.
Redline.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Redline's fucking amazing. It's technically a street racing anime, but of course, like when I was a kid, like watching Wacky Races, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, that's kind of what it's
or
mimicking.
Speed Racer.
Speed Racers. It's Speed Racer, but with like wacky races in between, and it's also like Mad Max.
Imagine JoJo as well as a very kind of fabulous.
It's JoJo pod racing.
It is really. It's about this guy who has to race
Sweet GP
in this course called the Red Line. It is an annual competition.
Yep.
Where they have to race to the finish line, because that's what racing does. Except in this case, they do it Mario Kart style, kind of, where you could shoot, injure, and sometimes even kill the other racers, all in the name of being first. You literally have to sign a waiver, sign your life away, in order to pursue greatness in this race. It's really good. The style is extremely unique. I think that it's wacky, right?
It's phenomenal. I mean, look, it's produced by Madhouse.
They capture speed super well.
Yeah.
In Redline, don't you think so?
It's definitely like it's got some. They definitely get the technical aspects of it down. I mean, as much as it is a fictional, fictional sport because of how fucking insane it is. Like, if you're an adrenaline junkie, yo, this is a really good. The music is fantastic. The sound design's great. It was done by like one of the script writers. Like, he's done the script for like NGE, a bunch of other like big name hits. Like, they've had people who've been working on the Animatrix as well.
And the music is bumping.
It's top notch.
You can read. You can listen to it on Spotify.
If you like that, that techno. If you like that Euro dance, it's got like a bunch of everything for you. It's just hype, adrenaline, crazy. Go watch it.
And a lot of the movie focuses on the actual race itself.
Yeah.
There is some lead up, but that's always the case.
But they're significant as well, right?
Yeah.
When you focus on the individual characters and what their involvement is in the Redline race, it adds to like the hype moments. You start watching, you're like, bruh, like this shit is not real, but I'm fucking down with it.
I really like Redline. Even the colors are fantastic. The coloring is so vivid. It's awesome.
Dude, it's fucking Madhouse when it was at its best. Prime time Madhouse.
Okay. Yeah. Look, it's good.
Go watch it, please.
So, Will, how many more recommendations do you have?
I got one left.
Perfect. Because we're going to end on Haikyuu after this recommendation that I have, which is not Haikyuu.
Right.
Blue Lock. We mentioned it.
Oh, fuck. Blue Lock is great. Blue Lock is really, really good. Especially because, like, for me, like, I'd say, like, my top sport, like, my most favorite sport would be soccer, association football. But, like, Blue Lock, you actually got into it before me. You've read way more than I have.
Yeah, I read all 3 volumes that are available in English. I think in Japanese there's, like, tons more. I think they're coming out every month. That's how much they want to, catch up to the current.
I think the 4th volume comes out this month.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because last month came out volume 3.
Yep.
So Blue Lock, as I said, is about soccer, but it is about a particular position in soccer, the striker. And Will mentioned about real life events that get inspired. Animes or mangas that get inspired by real life events. Blue Lock is inspired by the World Cup where we lost to Belgium, right? Japan lost to Belgium.
Yeah.
Which we mentioned earlier. So what do? Well, you grab 300 of the most well-known strikers in Japan under 18. Put them all into a gridlock dormitory and have them duke it out soccer style.
It's soccer Hunger Games.
It's soccer Hunger Games. And if you lose the opportunity to represent Japan forever.
As in, your career is done.
Yep.
You can no longer be associated with the sport of soccer.
And everything is determined by rank inside the Blue Lock, they call it, the Blue Lock.
Yeah, everyone gets assigned a number.
Yeah, and the ones who are at the top of the food chain gets all the amenities, luxuries, top of the line, sports consulting. But if you're at the bottom, all you get is pickled radish and rice for your dinner rather than steak.
I like this one as well because it's unlike the other ones where like you very much. I mean, of course, I haven't read as much as you have, but one thing that ties a lot of sports anime together is camaraderie and teamwork. Whereas from the get-go with this one, it's more this is a death battle. You have to develop an ego. You have to have that killer instinct. It mimics real sport as well because there are several players in the world of like soccer that I really admire. But even they've gone on record to say like, look, as a junior, as like an under 15, under 18 player, like you of course like get on well with your teammates, but you have to push them to the side. You have to exceed them. You have to be better than them in order to have a chance to represent the best of yourself and make a name for yourself in the world of soccer.
I mean,
or
the,
world of any sports.
the new coach said basically exactly that, because there's no ego. Everyone is for the team. But because of that, no one stands out. No one's willing to be the one to push the envelope, push the limits. So therefore, Blue Lock was invented. As Will said, I read all that's available in English right now, up to volume 3, and they do go a lot into the soccer playing. They don't. There is obviously downtime, as there is with any other sports anime, but they really do go in depth into the sport. They go in depth into the background of the characters and everything, and in a way, it is like an in-between area of going into the sport itself and also for character development, because when you're in a Hunger Games situation, there's backstabbing, there's betrayal, there is friends until we're enemies, or enemies until we're friends. Like it's all over the place. Drama.
I mean, like it reflects the real world too, right? Like, if, for example, let's say like you are a striker for your local team, or like for the national team. Of course, you want to get on well with your teammates, but if someone else is doing better than you and they have their spot, you have your spot, you have to do whatever you can to make a name for yourself and exceed them to get back into the starting team, right? Like, that's just how sports is,
and it's brutal in Blue Lock.
Yeah, I think they of course there is a lot of exaggeration, but it's not far from like the realities of competitive sport.
Oh, you're not good enough? Then get the hell out.
Yeah.
That's essentially it.
Yeah.
And that applies to real life, anime, everything.
If you're not good enough as a player, you get sold to a different team. Or
no sympathy.
If you're not good enough for that team, you get cut, and then you have to go to a lower league, or you have to go to a different country to try and secure like a starting role.
That's just the reality, right? Well,
yeah. Another thing I wanted to do in terms of like, this is again me just sports geeking. This is also very similar to like the rise of Captain Tsubasa, in which they really glorify and highlight the attacking position of soccer. So like the striker, the forwards. I do notice that like since the blow up of Captain Tsubasa, and like as a reflection of Blue Lock trying to find a good striker, a lot of like really, really good Japanese soccer players are usually in attacking positions, like your Kazuyoshi Miura's, your Keisuke Honda's, your Shinji Kagawa's, your Shinsuke Nakamura's. Not as much in the other positions. This is just me sports geeking. But
right.
It's, again, like it's a reflection of what people really want to see. People want to see that selfish striker, that selfish forward that has the killer instinct to take Japan to world glory.
All right. So that is my final recommendation before we go a little bit into Haikyuu. Will, what is your final recommendation?
This one is going to be a tough one because I have to recommend the manga over the anime.
Of course.
But it's by far my most favorite sports property within anime and manga, and that's none other than Ice Shield 21.
So I watched Ice Shield 21 on Crunchyroll.
I did too.
Unfortunately, they do not have it remastered in HD.
It was still only in 480, yeah?
Yeah, which is very unfortunate. I'm not even talking about the aspect ratio. That's fine, because that's like a product of its time. But after watching like a couple episodes, I understand what they're going for, but I just couldn't really get into it because a lot of things I felt were very...
It didn't age well, right?
Not just that, but I feel like, oh, this is an anime, so we're just going to do typical anime tropes of that era, like everyone act all cute, or this one is the bad boy. Oh,
that one's the klutz.
Yeah, exactly.
That one's the laughingstock.
But there's plenty of anime and manga that do that archetype stuff now, but the way that they do it is just so blatant. There's no subtlety. Like the big defensive lineman who is really good at tackling and stuff. He's just super huge, like absurdly huge compared to everyone else.
That's why I would actually recommend the manga.
Now, the manga, I read a bit, and I have to admit, the manga is, in one word, exquisite. I even did like a comparison where I looked at a section that was in the anime versus a section that was in the manga very earlier on for comparison. And it just looks way better in the manga.
the level of detail that goes into each action panel is just exquisite, right?
That's why I said, yeah,
It's
exquisite.
just delicious just to watch and read that shit. I mean, I just have to give a mention. It's fucking Yusuke Murata. If you've ever read the One Punch Man manga and appreciated the artwork that went into it, yo, Aisho 21, same guy. It's fucking incredible.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's Yusuke Murata. He's the guy who worked with One to do
Okay. He did work with One. I'm sorry, because I was like, no one knows who One is.
No, but so because One Punch Man was originally a webcomic.
That's correct.
And then when it became an actual manga, Murata was like, yo, I'm a little bit ill right now. When I get healthy, I'm gonna work with you.
Right.
He got healthy and he worked with him.
Okay.
Look, very typical like underdog story, getting to get to grips of a sport that really wasn't all that popular in America. In fact, like,
no, in Japan, you mean?
in Japan, sorry, yeah, in Japan. In fact, like there really aren't that many like people that care about the NFL or like American football, but it's just something about the manga that's just like it's awe-inspiring. It's just beautiful, gritty, and it's just a good time, man.
Also, if you want like a long series, the anime is like 145 episodes.
Yeah.
All on Crunchyroll. Unfortunately, non HD, but
I will say this, right? So the anime was adapted by Studio Gallop. But the OVA was produced by Production IG.
Yeah.
Now imagine if they actually stuck with IG. Oof. Whole different story.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, we keep talking about, like, how if certain series had the chance to be revitalized, what would it be? For me, if Aisha can get that revamp, I'd be fucking ecstatic.
I am more of like a modern era sports anime fan, so I can't really see anything that needs to be remade really badly. But Production IG, nice segue, Haikyuu. We have to end on Haikyuu, man.
Haikyuu is a titan of its own right now. Like, no fucking joke. If you ever talk about anime, just anime in general, Haikyuu is up there.
So I have to highlight Will's dedication to consuming Haikyuu. Originally, what was supposed to happen was I was supposed to consume a considerable amount of iShield 21, and Will is supposed to consume a considerable amount of Haikyuu. Unfortunately, Jason, I didn't manage to keep up with my promise that much, although I did check out both the manga and the anime. But your boy Will went up till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning one time.
Yeah. I basically watched 3 seasons of Haikyuu, which is 60 episodes in 4 days.
That's insane. And that's on top of the work and the social
I think stuff. It was at that point when I was just like, it was so late at night or like early in the morning.
Oh, yeah, and that game was happening and you just had to continue, right?
Yeah, it's just like as soon as you got to that specific tournament, you're like, I think I made a mistake. I can't turn this off now. If I do that, like, I'm just gonna ruin the series forever. I have to finish it now.
That's why earlier when we were like, let's watch some anime, Will, and then you were like, let's watch Vivi. I was like, no, we can't, because if we do, we will have to finish everything that's been consumed.
The level of emotional investment that goes into Haikyuu is fucking real. Like, you, of course, dude, like half the anime is the sport. And watching it, it's like, it's not like, oh, superpowers and like, the power of friendship and all that. It's like, no, if you suck, you suck. If you got your shot blocked, you got your shot blocked.
And it's realistic.
Excuses. Yeah.
It's like, it's not like fantastical elements. Some of them have superhuman senses but there's not like they have Herculean strength or
it's not like Kuroko no Basket where it's like they actually have like superpowers.
It's Dragon Ball basically. Yeah, Dragon Ball basketball.
Yeah, Dragon basketball. But with Haikyuu, there is definitely an air of realism in there.
I mean, season 3 is
except for maybe the fact that the main character can jump so fucking high, but like that's the whole point, right?
Right.
This is like the David and Goliath story.
I mean, season 3, you're talking about games. Season 3 was just basically one
game.
One game.
Over 5 sets.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like, when we talked about like the 6-year arc of Slam Dunk, that's the standard, right? But like when you're talking about anime here, it's like, it's not often you get something that is dragged out so long. And that's one of the key things about sports anime. there are going to be times when you're watching a specific segment, maybe even just like a 5 minute sequence of a sport, but it could take you up to like 3, 4, 5 episodes, maybe even half occur just to go through it. But you appreciate every single minute that goes into breaking down that specific sequence.
I think
it's just sometimes it's just beautiful to watch.
I have to say though, Will, that season 3 moment that of my least favorite character having my favorite moment was pretty good, right?
I would say that was a good moment. Very good. I mean, for me though, it was still very much the end of season 3 that was just like, fuck, this is so good.
Yeah.
This is really good.
And season 4, if I can say to the top real quick, it's season 4 Haikyuu to the top, part 1 and part 2, or season 1 and season 2 of To the Top. A lot of people criticize some of the animation and the pacing. I understand that. But it is, and the build-up of season 1 to the top is for season 2, the payoff, because they do a similar thing where all of that season is dedicated to the game. And it is really good. It is so good.
Even when you're watching the training montages and arcs, it's like, this is great because you get to see like the personal struggles of the characters, why they want to play the sport, what they will do to get better, or even just developing a passion for the sport. It's really enlightening to see that like Haikyuu has a pretty good mixture of both. Sometimes some series very much focus on the sport, like Kenga Ashura, or some of them focus a lot on the narrative, like Run with the Wind. Haikyuu is like the perfect mixture of both, where it has the action, it has the story, it has the development, the down moments, and especially the hype.
Yep. And it is not over yet. The manga
the
manga series is finished. So if you want to read it, it is available on Viz Media. But
all 4 seasons of Haikyuu are also on Netflix.
That's correct. So get to it.
I mean, like I don't think I've ever watched that much shit like straight, but it was a fucking great time.
So when you said you went all in, when I said you went all in on this sports episode,
wasn't joking.
You weren't joking. Like this episode was all you.
This was my bread and butter.
Yeah, man.
I'm so happy that we finally got to talk about sports anime, because whilst I didn't really get into sports anime, I now know why I should have.
Yeah. So, any parting last thoughts, Will, before
we'll get into it after the housekeeping, I guess.
Okay. All right. So, that is mainly the end of episode 10 of the Good Anime Palette podcast. You can always reach us through email at gapalette@gmail.com. All one word, all lowercase. You could reach us through Twitter at PaletteGood, that's capital P, capital G, or through our Facebook page, www.com/PaletteGood, capital P, capital G, all one word. You can also visit our website, www.goodanimepalette.com, all one word, all lowercase. You can even join us on Discord. There is an invite link in the show description. Just let us know. Or you can even join our Mal Club, which is also in the show description. Our intro music is Green Lights by Jahzzar. Our break music is Min 2019 by minwbu. Our outro music is What You Thinking, the instrumental version by Wataboy. You could find our intro music at thefreemusicarchive.org, and you can find our break and outro music at pixabay.com. William, what is your parting thoughts?
So I went over that really extensive list of all the sports that are featured in anime and manga, at least, in terms of scraping data from Wikipedia. Is there any sport that you feel like should get an anime or a manga, or that you would like to see in anime manga form?
Do you have one?
I do. You showed it to me earlier.
What is it?
Professional tag.
Oh yeah, okay.
That'd be fucking sick to watch.
That's actually pretty good.
Because it's like you have like there is there's a parkour anime, right? Is there a parkour anime?
Yeah, Princess Stride. It's
Right.
terrible. Don't watch it.
Well, then why don't we make it better and actually get some good tag? Because it's got parkour elements. You can definitely make a hype anime or manga out of professional tag. One thing I played when I was a kid, when I was in high school, was underwater rugby, and that was fucking brutal.
Yeah, you told me about it yesterday.
Where you basically have like a large puck that's at the bottom of the pool, and you have to push it from one side to the other underwater. So it requires a lot of a huge lung capacity, and also just pushing past the pain threshold.
So I guess my parting thoughts would be that there are so many sports anime and manga out there that it's just impossible for us to cover in such a short span of time, especially when we want to have the history, we want to have the definition, sedentary sports section and stuff like that. But I think this is a section where I want to do some honorable mentions, which is I watched Free from Kyoto Animation. I thought it was okay. It's pretty boy swimming, not really focusing that much on the swimming or technique. We talked about Yuri on Ice for a little bit. I like figure skating a lot. It is very good, and it's also very popular. So you probably have seen Yuri on Ice if you're into sports anime. If not, you should still check it out. There was one more, Ace of Diamond. And Ace of Diamond's about baseball.
Yep.
And it goes hardcore into baseball. Like, pull no punches. Just, you want to know about the sport? You want to see these characters turn into an awesome team? You're going to get it because there's like 100-something episodes. My last pick, which is going to be weird, honorable mention, is a fictional sport, which is Girl und Panzer, which is
Girls in Tanks.
Girls in Tanks. I've seen it. I think it's quite good. And the tanking aspect of it, if you've played a game called World of Tanks, it is actually very accurate in how a tank operates. There is a whole bunch of fan bases that are into Girl and Panzer. There's films and everything. And there's like some timeline thing that I don't even know about. But you should check it out.
Actually, if we're going to be talking about fictional sports, you've played Final Fantasy X before, right?
Blitzball, let's go!
I've played the game just to play Blitzball. If they can make a Blitzball anime, I'd be fucking happy.
You can't.
I know you can't. But
wait, is Square Enix has an anime division?
Well, Square Enix, they
produce manga.
Full Metal Alchemist is Square Enix.
Square Enix, you're listening, right? Okay.
You heard.
So, you know that weird spherical kind of arena that you have in Final Fantasy X,
that's full of water, and
you
all that.
go inside, but you somehow don't need to like get oxygen because you can just breathe underwater, and you throw like this weird bouncing ball. That's and then the game is kind of like soccer and basketball.
It's like rugby, soccer, basketball, Quidditch. It's got so many elements to it. It's fucking amazing. Anyways, it's like just one last point as well.
We really like sports. Yeah. We can't stop talking about sports.
But it's also like, do you care about baseball at all?
No.
But do you like Ace of Diamonds?
I like Ace of Diamonds quite a bit.
That's the thing, right? Like, you don't necessarily need to have had like an affinity to these sports in order to appreciate it. Like, bro, like, okay, I might have watched like a fair amount of like volleyball, but I wouldn't say that like I'm a diehard volleyball fan, nor am I like an auto racing fan.
I hate driving cars.
Right?
I have my license, so I could drive. I just don't like driving. But Red Line is one of the best anime films I've seen of all time, hands down.
And for me, like, I don't really like follow like volleyball that much, but Haikyuu is my shit. So you don't have to follow the sport. You just have to like see if you like the anime. Well, again, it's a sports anime, a sports manga. You don't necessarily have to like the sport itself. Just give it a shot and see if it's your jam.
Yeah. So we kind of went on for a little bit for the parting thoughts, but
I really vibe with this topic.
Okay, so I'm calling this right now. Maybe somewhere down the line we're going to do a part 2 of this.
We may have to.
Probably.
It depends on what happens next. Like, for example, if like Blue Lock gets an adaptation.
Oh yeah, okay. So Blue Lock will get an anime adaptation. I'm not confirming anything, but there is just no way in hell that the Blue Lock will not get an anime adaptation.
It's just sales-wise, it's doing well.
Yeah, I think it's just like Spy X Family. There's no way that these two properties will not get an anime adaptation.
And it better be done by Production IG.
For Blue Lock, and then maybe Wit Studio for.
I see. I can totally see Wit doing
for Spy X Family.
Totally, absolutely, yeah. Maybe Cloverworks is like a dark horse. Yeah, purely because of their art style. Anyways, we really appreciate you if you're listening all the way to the end. I know we've gone on and on and on, but yeah, we geek about sports and animes. Of course, we're going to geek about sports anime.
It's our bread and butter.
Yes.
In terms of sports, at least. Yeah. And for me, I like sports anime and manga. So.
Right. Well, thank you very much for checking in. Yo, go kick a ball. Go, play some basketball. Or, even easier, just turn on and watch some fucking basketball anime or some volleyball anime.
Hey, and pretend you're one of the athletes.
Just get hyped. Just get hyped.
All right, peace out,
Right,
guys.
Thanks. Catch y'all soon.
Later.